Are you on fire for the Lord? Is Williams Road Church on fire? Is that how you would describe us as a church or you as an individual? We talked some last time about this idea of being on fire and whether or not that's where we are. I'm not so concerned about where we are or where we have been as I am interested in where we're going. And I hope that's kind of where we can keep the focus. Maybe the better question would be, do you believe we can be fired up? Would you like to be fired up? Would you like to be enthusiastic and passionate and enjoying everything about your faith and about church? I believe that's possible. In fact, I believe it's God's will, and I think there are ways for us to get there. I mentioned Craig Groeschel last time, and I read part of the preface of his book. I wanted to finish some of that preface with you today. He goes on to say, you might be thinking, but I don't understand it. Aren't some people just born with it while others never find it? And you may think, well, yeah, I've never really had that. I've never had those times when everything just was great and I was excited. So you may think, well, that's somebody else's thing, or maybe it's just an elusive thing. He goes on to say, without a doubt, it is a gift from God, who is its only source. But I believe that God makes it available to anyone who wants it. I believe He wants to give it to you and to your ministry. That may be difficult for you to believe, but it's true. While I certainly can't promise it to you, I can encourage you toward it. Together we'll discover a few simple principles that could ignite it in your heart, life, and ministry. I'll be praying that the ministry you love will find it and never lose it. I share his belief that it is possible and that it is attainable, and it's not just something that we wait for and hope to happen and enjoy when the wind comes along and lifts the sails and we get to go riding. I believe it's a biblical concept. Paul wrote to a young preacher, Timothy, who is obviously struggling. Let me share with you some of what Paul had to say. This is for Timothy, 2 Timothy chapter 1, verse 5, and he begins with a reminder. I am reminded of your sincere faith, Timothy's faith, your sincere faith, which first lived in your grandmother Lois and in your mother Eunice, and I am persuaded now lives in you also. This has been handed down Timothy's third generation. Paul says, I am confident about that faith that's in you. For this reason, I remind you to fan into flame the gift of God which is in you through the laying on of my hands. Interesting expression that Paul uses, asking Timothy to fan into flame the gift of God. A lot could be said. Let's look at just kind of one little part of that. There's a dual side to it. Timothy has a gift from God through the laying on of Paul's hands. We don't know. I don't know exactly what that is. But some ability had been given to him miraculously through the Spirit, through the hands of Paul. But notice what Paul says for Timothy to do with it. Fan it into flame. God gave it, but Timothy had a responsibility to nurture it. God wasn't going to make it flare up unless Timothy was doing his part to contribute to that. Now keep in mind, Timothy had a tough job. He is a young man, and people are looking down on him because he's young. He's also a timid man, and he is in charge of setting up the leadership, the eldership of churches, or the church in Ephesus. Now just imagine if you got a 20-year-old kid who came to Williams Road Church and we'd never had elders, and this kid comes in and says, let me help you figure out how to do this. We're going to set up elders and get things going that way. You know, the natural reaction is, what does he know about elders, about old, mature spiritual leaders? He's just a kid. And so that's where Timothy is, and he's apparently got some physical ailments, maybe because of his nervousness. But it's in that setting that Paul says, here's your chance, Timothy. Fan it into flame. You've got the faith. I know it's there. Fan that fervor into flame. You think about that compared to where we are. We don't have the same job Timothy did, but do we face some of the same challenges? Do you get discouraged? Does it feel like that for a long time the church has just kind of slowly been losing some momentum and things have been kind of slowly going downhill? maybe that makes you nervous. Maybe it churns your insides. Maybe you share some of the things Timothy did. Whatever his gift was, the fanning into flame, that's what I'm interested in. How do we do that? How do we capture that? How do we find ways to keep the fervor and the fire going? And that's where we're going to be going for the next few days, the next part of this year, for September at least. So hang in there with that conversation. Go ahead and start giving some ideas in the comments as you watch this, as you finish it up. What do you think Timothy could do? What do you think we could do to fan the flame? How do you get that going? Look forward to seeing what you have to say.